Meanwhile, $800 million in tax cuts already, another $1 billion worth on the way. It doesn't sound like what's going on with our country, but that's what's going on in Ohio, the governor of that fine state with us right now, a state that's added more than 73,000 jobs in just the last year. John Kasich, it's governor now with me. Governor, obviously you're trying to buck that trend in the Buckeye State, and you are getting some results in doing so. But to what end? I mean, how long and how low do taxes have to go to encourage businesses that might be in one state to move to your state or to keep operating in your state?
Well, first of all, Neil, we were the #1 job creator in America in February, and we are now the #4 job creator in the last year. And that's coming back from where we almost slipped off the edge of the cliff here, having lost 400,000 jobs in the last 4 years. We also got our credit upgraded, Neil. While you were covering stories about everybody being downgraded, S&P and Moody's has taken us off negative watch and put us to being stable. And our rainy day fund has gone from 89 cents to 240 million. And it's not just, its taxes are important, but it's the whole attitude. It's understanding the concerns for job creators. It's having certainty. It's being in a position of where your regulations make sense. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have any. We're going to have very tough regulations on hydraulic fracturing, but we need to have them, but they can't be confusing and they can't be duplicative, and we're not doing that. But I also believe this whole business of incenting small business is important, and I think driving our income tax down, which is at 5.9%, really has to happen. Now, I listened closely to what your last guest said. I love the idea of bringing that money back to America. I've even talked to the administration about it. We have a very big oil and gas administration, oil and gas investments out here. But, you know, they only pay 20 cents on a $110 barrel of oil and nothing on liquids. So we want to modernize our severance tax and use those revenues to lower our income tax, also being able to keep some of the wealth that's generated in this state in Ohio. Our focus is consistency, our focus is certainty, and our focus is driving every day for lower taxes.
But, you know, it's interesting, Governor, when we look at the energy picture, very few immediately associate, oh, Ohio, an energy player. Your point is that you could be a much bigger player if the administration and others went beyond the notion of where the traditional oil and natural gas deposits are, that if we expanded that view where the potential is, we would be vastly expanding what type of energy is available for us here, right?
Yeah, you know, Neil, it's interesting. In Ohio, we've just introduced what we think is an independent energy policy. Clean coal, dig coal, clean it, and burn it, and try to figure out ways to capture carbon. We're big believers in natural gas. We'd like to have compressed natural gas vehicles. We believe in solar and wind. We believe that renewables are important, but we also believe in capturing waste heat, doing cogeneration, and we also think the fifth fuel is efficiency. Put all those things together, and you begin to get yourself in a position of where, and that's what America ought to do, to create independent energy policy.
So
I was with President Obama about 2 or 3 weeks.
But by that you mean that the official number that he gives, the president gives, that we have 2% of the world's oil reserves, you say is way off then?
What I'm saying is that the ability to now do hydraulic fracturing and capture oil that people never thought existed, tight oil, for example,
right.
Being able to release this in these reserves is great potential. And I told the president, you know, he's very concerned about the environmental side of this. I said, look, we're getting it right in Ohio. We want to make sure that wellhead construction is correct, that passing gas through high-pressure pipelines is going to be safe. And when we do this, and we are consulting with the feds, we don't want the feds coming in here and trying to disrupt what we're doing. And we think we're getting it right.
What did he tell you then, Governor? What did he say to you?
Well, he's very interested, and we have had conversations between our folks here in Ohio and the people that represent, you know, to the EPA in Washington, telling them about our plans. My sense is that his response was pretty positive, and you know he's been more bullish on hydraulic fracturing. So, but we have to make sure we don't sacrifice the environment. We don't need to, and at the same time we can create a lot of jobs and also give us significant improvement in terms of dependence on foreign sources for energy.
I know you're talking about how the environment has dramatically improved in Ohio, and it has. But depending on what polls you believe, the president has actually swung the momentum back in his favor as far as popularity in your state, a lot of other crucial swing states. We're going to get into this later in the show, Governor, but why would that be the case? Is he then getting the credit for stuff you're doing, vice versa? What's going on?
You know, Neil, you know that old Reagan sign on his desk, don't worry about who gets credit, it's amazing what you can do. When economies get better, executives get credit for it, you know. And the fact is that does he benefit to some degree in Ohio from that? There's no question that he does. Do I? Yes. Are we responsible for it? I mean, from our perspective out here, we've just taken on a lot of tough problems and created a better environment. But as you know, Neil, unleashing people to feel secure that when they add jobs or create jobs or when they bring jobs to Ohio, it's because they have a sense of certainty. In Washington, you know, they give us headwind. They don't put the wind at our back. They give us a lot of headwind because sometimes I don't think people in that administration understand risk-taking, investment, the crucial nature of capital. We have to keep pushing for that out here. And, Neil, you know, you and I have talked about this for many years. The real change in America is coming from the states up, not from the federal government down. If you're waiting on Washington to fix your problem, you might as well be waiting on Godot.
Godot doesn't get mentioned as a possible Republican running mate. Your name comes up, and maybe it has a lot to do with what you've been doing in Ohio. What do you make of that talk?
I think it's funny. First of all, I don't take it seriously.
See, I think that was a fake laugh.
Listen,
I think that was a fake laugh right there.
I have. Yeah, no, it is not a fake laugh. I think it's funny. Listen, the fact of the matter is that I was on every list. I was on, you know, Dole's list. I was on Bush's list. I don't pay any attention to that. And secondly, I have no interest. The reason I have no interest is I'm here to fix Ohio. And Neil, I mean, this is a big job out here. You know, there are a handful of very big states, and I believe that if we can fix this state, which we are in the process of doing, we can become a role model for other people and other politicians. See, we don't play a lot of political games out here. We don't navel gaze. We figure out what a problem is, and we go and try to fix it. Now, I'm not telling you, you know, we're the greatest that ever lived, but what I am telling you is political considerations are at a minimum. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you ought to be worrying about serving today and not worrying about re-election tomorrow. And that's a problem we have in the country. You've been covering it. You know, you're covering over the debt crisis in this country. That was people looking out for themselves and not putting the country first. And in this administration, at least now, we try to put Ohioans first.
You know, Governor, as a former House Budget Committee chief, someone who knows the Washington process, how money is taken in and spent, probably better than anyone. The concern is that Democrat or Republican, all options are going to be running out fast, and that if Mitt Romney is entertaining, should he become president, cutting tax rates across the board 20%, ain't going to happen. It's just not feasible. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, in '97, I worked with, you know, all of them, Bill Clinton, Trent Lott, you know, all the people there to, on a bipartisan basis, to get something done. There's got to be a will, Neil. And, you know, I think what's happening in our country is people are increasingly too concerned about themselves and not concerned about other people. There's three things I think need to happen in America. One is we got to fix the education system because our kids are not getting the level of education they need to be competitive in the world. Number two, we need to modernize our entitlement programs so that they look like programs of the 21st century, not of the middle of the 20th century. And finally, Neil, I think we need a re-energizing of the Jewish and Christian principles, which is this. Life is not all just about you. It's about other people as well. And if you can convince people of that, you can spur them to action. Because I tell you, our children are going to pay a high price for the intransigence and the partisanship and the unwillingness to get together. And it's got to get done, and it'll either get done now or it'll get done later in a more painful way. And I don't like to see that.
That is very well put, Governor. You don't have to be Democrat or Republican just to take an appreciation of that point of view. Governor, always good seeing you. Continued good health. Good luck.
Neil, you're the best, and I hope you have a great Easter week. And for those not of the Christian persuasion, great Passover.
To you as well and all of yours. Governor, thank you.